The first thing I would like to address is the difference between market research and marketing research. When we speak about market research, the first feedback that we always get is, wow, this is really confusing, this is too much information, do we really need this, what does it mean, how we will use this, what is the main difference between market research and marketing research, why do we need this in marketing? So the main thing, the core difference between market research and marketing research is the scope of the whole concept. When we talk about market research, we are talking about researching a narrow group of consumers. When we want to get significant data about some niche market maybe, or some segment of users, or to find enough information for us to conclude about different segments on the market. When we talk about marketing research, we are talking about the marketing process. So basically, marketing research includes market research. And in the next slides, I will try to explain what you really need to do in order for you to have significant data for your marketing strategy and to have answers to a different kind of questions, or to establish some kind of trends or patterns, or to pre-test or to post-test, or to make a pricing research, or whatever you would need in order for you to get the job done. What is the main thing to do? And this is our experience. We tried a number of different ways in order for us to have enough data and enough information about the market. The best thing to do is to write a research brief. And I will try to explain now what does a market research brief means. The first thing that the research brief is addressing is the problem definition. The problem definition is an indication of specific marketing decision area that will be clarified by answering of some of the research questions. And this is the first step in the writing of research brief. The second step is situation analysis. That means an informal gathering of background information in order for the researchers, for us, to realize what is the main area of the interest or the decision area. The third step is isolate, identify the problems, but not the symptoms. If we have a situation when we have a drastic drop of the satisfaction of the customers with some kind of service, the main thing is not the drop, but the reasons that they are stating as a reason for giving a significantly lower score of the satisfaction. So symptoms can be confusing, and that's why we are not addressing the symptoms, but we are asking and identifying problems. What is the most important thing to do is to state the research objectives. Because if you don't know where you are going, the road will lead you anywhere. Understanding how the budgeting influences the process of proposal of research and the research design. So like any kind of brief, the first thing to do after writing this is to have a debrief. And debrief is the very, very significant step in preparation for any research project, no matter if it's qualitative or quantitative. The methodology is just, determining the methodology is just one of the steps that you should make in order to get the objective analysis and answers to your questions. So now we will go through each of the steps of creating a research brief and of creating and selecting appropriate research design. So as I already said, the first step is problem definition. The first question that you should answer is, what is the purpose of the study? What will we gain when the results are done? How much we already know about this problem? Do we need to have additional background information in order for us to give a good brief to the researchers, to the research agency, so they could create a good questionnaire, because everything is starting with the brief and the following step is creating of the questionnaire or the sample, creating of a sample, or deciding which kind of methodology we will use or what kind of sample design, and so on. So the next question is, what is to be measured? What is important for us? How to measure this? And at the end of the day, this is the point of the development of the research project, when we are asking ourselves, should research be conducted? The first thing that we should have in mind is that we are not conducting primary research for every unanswered question, or whenever we are not certain about the outcome of the situation. Apart from the primary research results, there are always a secondary research results, especially when you are working in environment where the researches are conducted regularly as trackings, and you can see a pattern or a trend or a scheme that will show you the way the market is growing or downsizing, or to give you specific answers about some questions that when the research was conducted, we were not even sure that at some point we would need them. So the secondary research results are very important, and they don't cost anything. The main issue is that they should be with a proper methodology, because if you need to see some general patterns of the market, and you have conducted focus group discussions, they can share some light on the issue that you are trying to research. But the point where you need some general market indications, unfortunately, they will not help you. But if you are tracking the whole market, and at one point you want to know, for example, let's say, what media channels your specific target group is using in order to get an information, that, and that is the regular question in some other survey, you would have an opportunity to get extra information without any cost, with just little bit of cross tabulations or just different kind of analysis. Basic research design. This is something that is very important to understand before any kind of research is asked for. The first question is, should we use quantitative or qualitative research? If we want to have a general market conclusion, where we can say that, I don't know, 60% of population is watching TV regularly, then qualitative research will not give us enough information for us to get this kind of information. If we want to have quantifiable information, then qualitative research is just not something that could help us. Exploratory versus conclusive. If we have qualitative research, then we will get exploratory results. If we have quantitative research, then we'll have a conclusive results. And this is something that must be understood when we are asking different kind of methodologies to get a specific answers. The main difference between the qualitative and quantitative research is having a small sample versus large samples. If we have focus group discussions, they have small sample with 6 to 8 people in group. If we have one group with 6 to 8 people, and according to research standards, we have just another one like that to have just to make sure that the first group is giving the same answers. We have another one in order for us to have a secondary confirmation. That was the word that I was missing. Sorry. But when we have large samples, we are going with quotas for us to have conclusions about specific group on the market, or to have a national representative sample, which is at least 1,000 people. But if we have a quotas, then we need at least 100 people in the base in order for us to have a significant statistical base, so we can have a conclusive data. Also, when we have a qualitative research, we have a broad range of questions. We are using guides versus structured questions when we have quantitative research. Also, when we have qualitative research, we have subjective interpretations of the discussions versus statistical analysis when we have quantitative research. Hopefully I was understood here. So when we have a selection of sample, the main thing that we should address is who or what is the source of the data. Do we need a target population to be identified? How accurate the sample must be, and this is a very, very important step in the writing of the brief. We must know how accurate this sample is, because if we don't have enough people in the sample, then the conclusions might be misleading. Do we need a national representative sample, 1,000, as I already said? Or do we need a bigger sample if we need some kind of regional analysis? Those are the questions that should be addressed in the brief, so the researchers know what is the problem, how big is the problem, what to include in the proposal for the methodology. Data gathering is also a step that should be written in the brief. Who will gather the data? How long the gathering of the data will take? What kind of operational procedures need to be followed? When it comes to the data analysis, we should make sure to know how the data will be categorized, what kind of statistical software will be used. The major market research agencies use a software developed by them. So this is the major strength of the agencies. They use a license software in order to get a good analysis of the data gathered from the field. So also one of the questions that need to be addressed here is for the researchers to know how the final report would look like, is how many variables are we to investigate simultaneously. And everything is leading to the final report. The main thing to know about writing a final report and expecting the final report is who will read the report. I mean, for me, database in SPSS or in Excel is good enough in order for me to know what to do next with the results, or how to use them, or how to present them to my colleagues, and how to continue with the analysis of the data. But when we have a report that should be addressed to the higher level of the management, we would need a management summary, we would need a presentation. That's why we have to determine the format of the written report. And at the end of the day, we should decide, do we need a review that would be helpful for the people who will receive the final data. So type of report is, and also this is something that is determining the price, the cost for the research. If you don't need management summary, if you don't need PowerPoint presentation, if you just need databases, then the cost of the research would be lower. And we are coming to the how much the project costs. Usually management is considering the costs for research in order to address the business case. Do we need to spend money in order for us to get enough information so the business case can be backed with market data? If we are conducting huge research on national representative sample, then this might cost a lot, but at the end of the day, you don't want to get a product out on the market that you don't know how it would be accepted by that market. Also, when post-testing is in questions, you really want to know, did you made any kind of difference? Was that accepted? Would this product be used for a longer time period? Did you get that customer for a longer time of period or no? At the end of the day, whatever you spend on market research is not money thrown out in the air. It's something that you need in order for you to have a legitimate and successful business. The second question, when the planning of the market research project is in question, is there an acceptable time frame? If you must know that whatever methodology you choose to use, you would need somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks for you to have the data. You cannot gather data about yesterday, only about the future. So you need time to do that. You couldn't rush, and you can rush this process of gathering the information. Usually, big companies, even smaller ones, are using vendor when market research is in question, because you need a number of people for any kind of project to be conducted. You need a cutting center, you need mystery shoppers, you need moderators for focus groups, you need data processing, and at the end of the day you need market research data analysts to tell you what those numbers and percentage means. What is very important for you to know is that market research brief is very important for you to know what you asked and what you gained from the research process. At the one hand, you have research questions and research objectives and problem that should be researched, and on the other hand, 4 to 6 weeks after the initial brief, you have market research data. This market research data should address the problems stated in the market research brief. So the requester knows what he asked, and from the researcher, and for researcher to know did he give significant answers to the problems stated in the research brief. Like any kind of project, we need to establish a timeline of the research, starting from the brief, at least 1 week, to questionnaire, to sample size, to methodology, to design of the research, then followed with field work, with data analysis, with presentations, with reviews. So every step of the research project has its timeline, and if everything is planned beforehand, like it should be, then the timeline of the research project should not exceed 8 weeks. So on this lecture, we should pay more attention to the quantitative market research methodology. As I already stated previously, quantitative market research means customer surveys and questionnaires. There are 3 most common quantitative market research methodologies. The first one is CATI, computer-assisted telephone interview. And like any kind of methodology, it has its good qualities and some problems. But the first thing that should be stated is that if you use CATI methodology, you are assuring high data quality. This is the fastest research to be conducted. With this research, we have a huge time reduction because we are using telephones, and also you have a complete control of the process of the gathering of the process of fieldwork. So we are using CATI methodology mostly because it's it doesn't need a lot of time to be conducted. Also, it's assuring high data quality because we need quantitative research in order to get a broad picture about the market. And also, when it comes to costs, this is a research that it's not that expensive. When it comes to CAVI, computer-assisted web interviewing, I think that I should state that maybe it would be it would have a lower cost than CATI if we had pool of email addresses here in Macedonia, but actually we don't have, and maybe in Europe and in America and all over the world they are using this kind of quantitative methodology to gather information from the market. In Macedonia we are not using it that much or in the measuring the whole market. Also, one thing that we should know that in order for us to use this methodology, we need to have high internet penetration. In Macedonia, at this point, is somewhat lower than 60%, but if we need information about total population, this is not a methodology that at this point it could be used. And also what is asking is a basic computer knowledge, and maybe we have, let's say, pretty high internet penetration when it comes to the basic computer knowledge, then we can't say that. CAPI methodology is also quantitative methodology. It's computer-assisted personal interviewing. We should say that this is just the way the face-to-face research has evolved when technology comes in mind, because this is face-to-face, but we are not using pen and pencil interviews anymore. The interviewers have computers, and it's more time consuming that CATI and CAVI, and also it's more expensive because it's face-to-face with interviewers going to the home of the people and talking with them. But when it comes to the gathering more accurate information, then this is the methodology that should be used. So after all of this, I think that everybody will have the questions: what to use, what kind of methodology to use. Well, from my experience, I think that all of them are pretty legitimate way for gathering of data information from the market. And depending on the market research brief, all of them are legitimate to be used for general information, and for more accurate qualification you would like to use some qualitative research, maybe. That is the main reason why no methodology can be considered without any kind of a doubt. What I would like to address at the end of this this review is to tell you that you always need to ask or write for research brief, and this is must. This is a step that should not be taken lightly. And to tell you all, happy research. Just do it. Thank you.